You with me?
I'm here.
All right. I just wanted to, we did a video a little while ago in reference to meeting the CEO of the Dreaming Company, Chris Mullen. And I wanted to do a little video with you as well so that the shareholders and even the consumers of not just the Dreaming Company, but also other products coming out through other subsidiaries. So I wanted to kind of just do an introduction with you so they can meet you and get some insight as to how Boost manages and implements our marketing apparatus, if you will, right? Because there's quite a bit going on. We can't talk about all of it here. There's some other videos we're going to be putting out after we release, do some public release statements. But I would like to go over a few things because, you know, I have spoken to a lot of shareholders and gotten a lot of questions about Boost. It's been great. I think they're starting to see the value of why the decision was made to bring Boost in under the umbrella of this organization. So one of the things I have noticed, I find myself explaining, is that to say that Boost is just an SEO internet marketing company is it's accurate on such a surface level. There's so many things that you've been working on, and we've been working on together with UAT and as well as Boost. And I wanted to kind of jump right in to some of the things that Boost has been going. I mean, we could start off with how you got started and, you know, some of what you've been able to do for some of the clients. But first, I kind of want to set the stage where people understand what it is Boost is. You know, it's not just an SEO typical online e-commerce marketing company. That's not accurate. So maybe you could talk about some of the AI machine learning stuff that you've been working on with some of the sentiment analysis and intelligence gathering apparatuses from UAT that you've taken to another level with marketing, and it's really enhanced that. So on the last video, we kind of touched on just how significant your role in releasing Hygeia, the sock line, and we're going to be releasing the HP line, and we have a pillow here. I don't know. Anyway, we won't go into that, but this looks like a UAT hand grenade went off in my office. We have everything. But what you were able to accomplish based off of these very specific and complex algorithms, maybe you could touch on that first, and then we'll go into what you've been able to bring about as results for even other companies, because if anyone's watching, there's a benefit to having you on their team, for sure.
Yeah, you know, sure. SEO is a service we provide. I mean, that's kind of how we got started, you know, more than a decade ago. But, you know, that was kind of just the entry level, you know, into the business. You know, it's gotten so much more deep than that. You know, once you start to see the ways that people are searching for things or shopping for things, or, you know, just their overall behavior online, it starts to open up an entirely different world, you know, when it comes to product planning, product development, you know, predictive behavioral analysis. I mean, there's a million different things that, you know, you start to get exposed to that world, and you start to see the possibilities of what can really be done, you know, with this technology. And, you know, currently we have a small and focused group of clients that have been with us a very long time. You know, they've been with us a long time because what we do works, right? And, you know, from personal attention to proper budget recommendations, I mean, all across the board, and anything we're telling them to do, you know, we've already done with our own money, right? And believe me, we failed. You know, it doesn't matter. If I had, geez, I mean, the money that's gone out the door, you know, trying some of these strategies, is just insane. You wouldn't even believe it if I told you. But that's how you learn. I mean, that's the real world. That's how you get an education, right? I mean, it's expensive, probably more expensive than college, as a matter of fact. And, you know, now we're taking some of this experience to, you know, our clients and companies like the Dreaming Company and, you know, Hygeia, of course. You know, these are just a few of the brands that we've been working with. You know, even in the past year since the pandemic hit and the rise of e-commerce, you know, we have really helped a couple of our clients grow. I mean, one in particular, you know, has gone from, you know, doing under $1,000 a day. Now they're going to do over $1 million a month, you know, this month. So, you know, it's a really good program that we have. But to me, what it is more than helping people is, you know, it's real power that we have, right? You know, in any business, if you can say to yourself, hey, before I go invest $1 million into a product development, workflow, how am I going to know what's going to sell? That's always the common question. It's like, what should I sell, right? Like, what am I going to do? I want to start a business, but I don't know if it's going to work, right? Well, what if you knew ahead of time? What if I could tell you before you even went into that, this is going to work or this is not going to work? Here's what it's probably going to cost. Here's roughly going to be your cost per acquisition. And based on your net margin, we think you can make this much money in this amount of time. So I just handed you the keys to the castle, right?
Right.
And, that's kind of the value that I think BoostWords brings, particularly with some of the, software projects we have going, and how that's going to tie into different elements of UAT. I think it's really going to be a nice symbiotic, relationship, because there's a few pieces of tech that they have that, that we have our eye on, you know what I mean? And, maybe even vice versa. So, it's an exciting time.
I think the screen froze a little bit, but I can still hear you, and hopefully everybody else can still hear you.
I got
you. Yeah, and I'm going to add to that when it comes to the results that I see, because obviously I'm a numbers guy. We're always looking at the numbers. We've got all these filings, reports we have to do. When I look at the startup cost versus the gross revenues that are coming in, and compare that to how those margins continue to expand based off of lowering these acquisition costs, as you just referred to them, it's really impressive. It's going to be a very powerful tool. I mean, I'm a believer. We've talked at great length in reference to not just what we're doing now, but when we look back at where we started, with the first line, because there was, and rightfully so, shareholders are concerned. You launch a SOX, and then what happened? Then you stopped, and then you started. It looks that way, but really what we were doing was specifically targeting different demographics and, more importantly, different marketing techniques. And it's not always easily understood on the outside looking in. I understood that. You and I talked about it at the time, and I even talked about it with some shareholders. But we had to dial in this program, and working together hand in hand has proven to be such a resource. I think many people in my position would really jump at the opportunity, which is why we did, to bring your group in, and then have you kind of permeate every subsidiary and go across the entire organization to make sure that we could take a look at it, something simple, which everyone does. The web page is not set up properly for SEO. We went through that, right? We killing off things and moving things around and everything. But then it's also, how are we going to change and evolve in a way that is going to bring continued exponential returns? It just constantly gets better. So I'm very impressed. I mean, what you guys do over there is just, no one else is doing it.
Well, we live in a digital world now, right? And no matter what piece of technology you're releasing, if no one's ever going to find out about it because you don't go about it in the right way, that's going to be the downfall, right? So, I mean, you can invent cold fusion, but if no one knows about it, it's never going to matter, right?
Right. It's also makes it more efficient use of capital. We've learned the hard way, as many people that operate any business, that it's expensive to get from point A to point C.
Right.
But with your program and the technology that you've been able to develop, we've reduced the capital cost and actually a lot of the net loss, and not simply improved top line numbers. We've improved revenues across the board at multiple metrics in all different demographics. So it's impressive. I don't want to beat the drum too much on that, but sure, we'll probably get too far into it. We'll be boring everyone going to sleep. But so you got into it. I know that, and I'm familiar with some of who your clients are and what you've been able to do for them. Your way of marketing, you are not dependent on being in a certain market segment or even a demographic. So you can easily go from nutritional supplements to textiles and clothing to advanced technologies that we're looking to market to governmental agencies. And one of the things I'll even bring up is, we did a press release on H2O processing today, and that was probably not too much of a surprise to some people because they're aware of the company. But the fact that you have the ability to market that platform, you're talking about 3 semi trucks and a bus, that's the mobile operations center, $1.5 million piece of equipment to start off with, depending on what we do with it, right? So to be able to market that to within the oil industry, to be able to market that within internationally, dealing with clean water treatment, how do you transition from one technique? Maybe explain a little bit why you're able to do that and why you're not so targeted or kind of pigeonholed and restricted into just one thing.
Well, selling any product is about what? Number one, identifying who is your buyer, right? Where do these people exist? Not only geographically, but digitally, right? I mean, sure, this government buyer is the government. You're saying, well, how do you advertise to the government? Well, you're not. You're finding the person, right? You're getting the person aware of what's available, or maybe the people around them, even in their lives, who are going to tell them about this particular product or this theory or this concept or whatever it may be. And there's a variety of ways to do that, through video, through content placements, through, retargeting afterwards. I mean, there's a million different ways to go about this, not to mention social. So, obviously some of the projects like you're talking about, there's different levels of difficulty, of course, but yet again, I mean, bear in mind, whether you're selling a $20 pair of socks or a $20 million semi-trailer that cleans water into, drinking water, your cost per acquisition is going to remain roughly the same ratios. So sure, it may cost, $2-3 million to find a client who's willing to spend $20 million, but was it worth it? Of course it was, right? And especially if it's a repeatable model, right? And that's really where, the goal and the power comes in of the platform, is once you're able to identify, target, and figure out where can you get a hold of these people and insert yourself into that micro moment where they've been doing research, they're ready to make a decision, right? And suddenly you're sliding in there with your content, be it video, be it blogs, be it banner ads, be it news, whatever it may be, for that particular project. You make your plan, you find your targets, and you execute, just like anything else.
Right. So that's kind of a good segue into, we have a lot going on. We can't get into everything. We're going to be releasing news in a couple of days here. But what would you, I asked Chris the same question. What are you most excited about for 2021 with, and again, don't let anything out that we haven't talked about already, but what are you most excited about across, not just for Boost Warriors, but across the organization?
Well, I think making a transition from a private company to, being a subsidiary of a public company is going to give us real opportunity to grow, both in terms of the team members that we want to bring on, to help expand not only the client base, but the development team, from a talent standpoint. But, some of the things that we're going to get to do as a result of that, are going to be real fun. Some of the things that you're going to see rolling out here over the next year, they're going to be pretty exciting. We're going to be able to accomplish a lot. It's going to be some cutting edge stuff, and it's going to apply to everything. It's not just going to be e-commerce driven or local business driven. I mean, it's going to be a lot more than that. It's going to tie hand in hand to a lot of the UAT stuff and what those guys are doing over there. And, I think what really gets me excited about it is that, we're really going to bring value to investors. I mean, that's the number one question as an investor, is this going to work, right? Well, guess what? When one of the guys from the Boosters team can walk into the meeting with a packet full of data and show you, here's why it's going to work, right? And I can prove it, kind of removes the question, right? So raising money is going to be a piece of cake for us.
Well, I mean, remember that happened with IGS Skin when you called me? you said, hey, this was in March, I believe. You said, hey, I think we should launch Hygeia Skin. They said, I don't know what you guys over at Boost are smoking, but we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't think that's a great idea. Tell me why it's a good idea. And hey, you did what you always do. You said, I get it. Let me explain how we're going to do it. And you probably talked, 15, 20 minutes? And I'm like, man, everything he said sounds completely accurate. Like he's got me convincing it's going to work, but it is a pandemic. I don't know about this, but I trust him. I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. And I was kind of half thinking this is going to be an expensive mistake, right?
I think I started the conversation off with, this is going to sound crazy, but the longer I talk, the more it's going to make sense.
Yep. And you were sold out like, what was it, like 10 days, not even a week, right? It was something like that. So I could not, and then our problem was, hey, we have a problem. We need more raw materials. And then we're having trouble getting back, the bottles and everything, the jars, and we made some adjustments. And I brought this up with Chris about the efficacy of the cream when I had the sunburn. And there's just been so many moments where it is a privilege to be in this position because I'm constantly surrounded by people who are, the tier one, they're bringing their A game. And we have a pretty good team of people that have consistently brought forward their best, and their best is pretty damn good. So we've done real well.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a ton of people on YouTube talking about how they built these e-commerce empires and this and that. And the reality is that's not common. Most of them are probably lying to begin with, but I can tell you firsthand, having failed over a dozen times, when it comes time to write a $50,000 check out of your own personal savings, and you probably don't even have a little bit more than that left in there to begin with. It's pretty nerve wracking, right? You got to win. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. And not many people have been through that, and that's the kind of failure that molds you. Right. And
right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, we are at the top of our game over here now. Like I turn down clients all the time just because I don't think it's going to work. And I tell them up front, listen, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but save your money. This is not going to work in my opinion. So, we work on things that are going to win every single time.
Yeah, that's the good thing. That's a lot of people, that's a good point. A lot of people here probably don't realize that most of the people that we've brought in at some point, probably when we were dealing with them initially, like Chris and a few others that will be introduced, but not Chris McMullen, Chris Terry, but when you look at guys like Mark and Chris and all these other individuals, they've all been responsible for writing paychecks for cover people's salaries. They've all started their own and run their businesses. Look, I'm an example. I literally cashed in and leveraged everything I could to start this company, and there were some rough roads. I mean, it could have cost us everything. So I think having that many people that understand, understand their own personal risk tolerance, but also understand that this is going to be hard work. And it's going to be, you and I talk, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, we're on the phone 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. We do keep some pretty crazy hours, but because of that, we are where we are right now. And it's not just you and I, it's everyone. Stan is the same way. Chris is in California, Stan's in Colorado, you and I are in Florida, and we're working and operating through multiple time zones. So I think the shareholders should be proud of the fact that they have people, or they invested in something that people that are really putting everything they have into it. And as a result, I think they're starting to see that while it looked a little strange or it was a little questionable for 2 years, they were just, I could not put out certain information. My background probably played a little role into that. A lot of guys here were pretty secretive about things because we want to contain information and we want to get from point A to point Z unmolested. We don't want to have leaks. We don't want to have people working against us in the battlefield that we operate, or the area of operations we operate in. It can be, we run the risk of saying something and then people taking it and running with it. So now they're starting to see that we have been working the entire time. This was not, everybody thinks, pandemic was the pandemic holiday. Some people were referring to it, which is a little twisted, but people weren't working, and we were, whatever it took. So, and as a result, you have a pretty successful lines selling and selling out. I mean, your numbers, or Chris's numbers over at the Dream Company and returns you're bringing are just phenomenal.
Well, and that's what it is. I've made a commitment to you and the other team members that, look, we're going to drive revenue. We're going to drive millions and millions of dollars of revenue through these subsidiaries by any means possible. And I know how to do it. We have the team in place. We're going to build out more of the team. It's going to be, a tremendous, effort, but we're going to end up with some really top talent, and it's going to rain money. I mean, it's going to rain money. Like, this is what I do. This is what I do.
Yeah, it's definitely shown the returns that I think I've come to expect, but only based off of what you've stretched my mind to that, where you can say, okay, Alex, you can spend $1 and we will get 4 back. And in many cases, we're doing better than that. So that was just, that's phenomenal. keep saying that word because I've always been very impressed repeatedly at the progress every subsidiary has made. Every executive that's been pushing and really driving the path forward have really delivered. I mean, look at what Stan and Jimmy have been able to do over there. I'm going to do a video with them too. What they've been able to deliver, it's just unbelievable.
You know, shoestring budgets. So imagine what we're able to do now.
Oh yeah. Well, we've been accused of being a little too frugal over here, but the problem is you have to stretch it, and we've got to. Had we just gone all in on one thing and not really, pinch the pennies, the problem is you burn yourself out. We weren't able to sustain. We would not have been able to be where we are for this long, and that was proved to be the correct decision. But since we're talking about a little bit about the expansion side, we'll mention on this video, we're going to be putting out a video, an announcement here, probably within. I have my whiteboard over there. Probably 1, 2, 3, about 5 to 6 weeks. We're gonna have to hire some people, so we're gonna be putting that out. And it's not just UAT Group. It's gonna be UAT. It's gonna be. I don't want to go through all the companies right now, make a mistake here, but we're gonna be making some more announcements, and then we can, spill the beans. But we are gonna be bringing some more people on, expand the team. We're at the point now where we can actually seriously consider expanding the human capital set, but also those resources that will exponentially increase the value of what we already have in existence. So,
absolutely.
And there's IP. I mean, the IP you're bringing forward in Boost is, IP that's being brought forward through H2O and UAT and a few others. It really is. It's growing. So we're in that growth stage right now.
100%.
All right, I won't keep you. I just wanted people to meet you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. I know you and I are going to be talking a little bit later on, but I just wanted them to meet you and get everything out there. So
consider yourselves met.
Thanks, buddy.